right, everyone, welcome back to BBB Sharing. I'm here again with Dr. Susan Hong and our CEO, Barry Moore. We're going to talk about
healthy living.
Healthy living, perfect. And Dr. Hong is going to go over, her own insights, her own experience with that, and with her patients as well.
So one of the important things that I try to do for all cancer survivors is talk about lifestyle, because lifestyle is something we can all control, right? And something that happens when you have a cancer diagnosis is you feel like you've completely lost control over your body and your health. And diet and exercise, those are things that people can control. So I always start with asking people, what do you typically eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Do you eat breakfast? A lot of people don't. And it's actually really important to eat breakfast. Studies show that people who eat breakfast consistently are able to maintain a healthier weight over their lifetime. We talk about the types of foods. Yes, we have recommendations about the servings of fruits and vegetables that people eat, but it isn't necessarily always feasible for people to access fresh fruits and vegetables depending on where they live. There is something called food deserts, which many of you are probably familiar with, where people who live in certain parts of, especially urban centers, can't access fresh fruits and vegetables. We at Massey have tried to overcome some of that. We have a partnership with a wonderful organization called Shalom Farms, where once a week people can purchase fresh fruits and vegetables at a deeply discounted cost. So we talk about fresh fruits and vegetables and how they can incorporate that into their diet. Certainly not everybody's familiar with all the different types of ways of cooking and incorporating that. And so we have dietitians who can actually talk to patients about how to incorporate fresh fruits and vegetables into their healthy eating habits. We talk about physical activity, what kinds of physical activities they engage in, and what is reasonable. So I don't like to give people, you must do 30 minutes 4 times a week, because I think that's very hard. So we talk about just starting slowly, whether it's going for a walk around the block if you can, or, just incorporating a few more steps every day, parking your car, if you still work, parking your car further from your office so that you take a few more steps.
Wow. Good advice. Mm-hmm. And something I was excited for Dr. Hong to share, and Evie, you be here, because you talk about the vegetables and the fruit, right? A more healthier lifestyle. Yep. And so you're excited to hear what Dr. Hong said?
I'm very excited because it's kind of like preaching to the choir is what it feels like. I've told my parents time and time again, and just recently they're both very healthy people. And they exercise daily. They make sure that they eat healthy foods. But it's other people, it's living here that's so hard sometimes to find things that's not processed. And I was telling you earlier, Dr. Hong, how I actually read the ingredients on the back of everything in the grocery store. I have a personal rule. If I can't pronounce what's in the ingredients list, I'm not buying it.
And that's actually, it is a great rule. The best part of the grocery store is when you walk in to the right, where all the fresh fruits and vegetables
Stay on the outside
First
lane.
place I go.
You go down the middle lane, you're in trouble because that's candy and chips.
It's usually I'm avoiding the middle part of the grocery store the most, and I'm always going either to the bakery to get sourdough bread from Wegmans, or I'm going straight to the produce section and I'm getting my fruits and vegetables, and then I'm out.
That's it. And by the way, her family, if you get to Harrisonburg up by JMU, they own an incredible restaurant called The Galley.
Yep.
We can say it together. We got to come up with a jingle. It's phenomenal. And Evie's related to the guys that own the Brick House Diner here locally. So some great cooking. So I don't know how we got there, but let's go back to cancer survivors. And we're at about 5 minutes. So we'll go 1 more or 2 more minutes. But something you shared with Becky Massey and Debbie Johnston and myself, access to food. access to food. We have a food bank. We have food banks spending, and it's a pet peeve of mine. And I love the people running these food banks. It's not about them. But we are going to spend $12 million, $20 million on the structure. All we need is food, and we need from Shalom Farms that access. We don't need every little business owner reaching out to get food for people and milk for people. Why can't we used to have what's called food stamps in this country? We still do, I believe. We call it something different. Why can't we just load up the card if they need something more? Load up a card. They can only buy certain things. And I don't care if they don't like it, but they need it, right? Especially cancer survivors, and let them go to shop at the big brick and mortar shopping centers.
So that's an incredibly important point. So a few things about food insecurity. So in this country, about 11% of Americans are food insecure. When we look at cancer survivors, that figure goes up to 20%.
Wow.
Within Massey, it's actually 40%. 40% of, so we did a survey of over 300 patients on active cancer treatment. Over 40% of them reported some level of food insecurity. So people are actually having to choose between eating, feeding their families, and their cancer care, which is pretty terrible to think about. And so there are things that we as a society can do, and certainly Massey is working really hard to try to start up a food resource initiative. And other major comprehensive cancer centers have done this. Like Memorial Sloan Kettering actually has a very large food resource center, and they found that people who have access to this are much more likely to complete treatment on time.
Mm-hmm. When we had a quick meeting that time, you talked about getting an ice box and filling it with stuff. I mean, you're onto it. I mean, if anything ever changes in this town, it should be the Susan Hong ice box. And have good stuff, because I'm going to eat all the bad stuff. So I don't want bad stuff anymore. And I'm your patient. So we'll wrap it up. It's at 7 minutes from the doctor.
Perfect.
God, I think people in this community worldwide, this could travel, could learn a lot from Dr. Hong.
I hope so. It'll do a world of difference. Thank you, everyone, for listening to BBB Sharing. And thank you for taking the time to listen to Dr. Susan Hong as well. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Spotify. That always helps. Like and subscribe. Thank you.